episode of Rewind, Remake,
Title
Reboot?
determined.
Reboot, Remake, Sequel. That's what we've been calling it. Yeah. If people have a better name.
Oh, definitely. If anybody has a better name, comment.
Yeah,
comment
then
it.
Reboot, Remake, Sequel. I keep wanting to say Rewind in there.
And I will write you a letter. Thank you on old-timey World War II script.
So the basic premise of the show, because it's hard to explain, is that each episode will have a topic, a franchise, something, and each of us are going to come up with separate pitches for either a reboot, a remake, or a sequel. Although a lot of times reboot and remake might end up being the same thing.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it'll be very specific. Like it'll be like a sequel to Dick Tracy. Not a remake or reboot, a sequel. Yeah. So the first one is Spider-Man, because we've got a new Spider-Man coming. It'll be our third iteration of Spider-Man, so I was like, let's start with, before Civil War comes out, let's start with our Spider-Man. I'm going to go first, because Matt has like 14 pages of notes.
Yeah.
You said 6, but some of those are front and back.
I over-prepared it maybe a little bit.
I didn't prepare it all.
I kind of thought, I kind of got really hype about a lot of it.
So I'm going to go first, because mine will probably be briefer. Probably across the first couple episodes, we'll get a groove, we'll figure out about a length and a preparation. So, my film will be called Spider-Man 6. Spider-Man, SIX. Spider-Man 6. And it's going to exist essentially as a meta-continuity of the previous 5 films.
Kind of like the Hulk, where they kind of said Ang Lee's Hulk kind of happened.
Yeah, kind of. Or like how Superman Returns... Well,
right.
Well, Superman Returns and TMNT both did this thing where, like, well, the first one is canon, and then what we want from the sequels are canon. Kind of like that, but not exactly.
Right.
It is not in continuity, because, I mean, obviously, Sam Raimi is an amazing, can't connect it all anyways. But at least working on, like, this idea of, like, everybody's seen those movies, and those movies have kind of happened in some form.
I think it's kind of funny that we can no longer refer to the Sam Raimi ones as amazing because The Amazing Spider-Man.
And they're not that good in retrospect. They're not that good in retrospect.
And you messed with one of us. You messed with all of us.
So, my big thing is I want to do the thing that none of the Spider-Man movies have done, which is when you go back to especially the Stan Lee stuff, but it's there all throughout Spider-Man's history, but especially the Stan Lee stuff, Spider-Man is like half noir, half teen drama, and I want to bring that crime element in. So, movie opens with the death of Gwen Stacy, and the death of Green Goblin.
Wow.
It's that scene.
You just skip that? Okay.
Yeah, well, because we just had it.
Yeah.
So, like, again, it's not exactly what happened in the last movie, but it's kind of meta-textually picking up from last film. That's what it opens with. And it's the Norman Osborn Green Goblin, and she dies, and so, like, that's the, like, pre-credits, like, James Bond scene, and you pick up. Peter's in college, because
Then in
he
high
keeps
school
sending him
forever,
back in high school, and then he keeps moving to college, so I'm just going to start with him in college, but maybe early college, like, maybe his first semester, maybe his second semester. And he's really sad.
Well,
because Gwen Stacy just died. But he doesn't stop being Spider-Man. Like, he keeps doing the Spider-Man thing because he has to. Like, who's gonna stop the bad guys? So, can't see his... like, there's a figure, you can't see him. Or you can't see his face. He finds Norman Osborn's, secret lair with his goblin stuff, and Hobgoblin.
it's James Franco.
Yeah, it's James, but full-on Hobgoblin.
Okay, yeah, awesome.
And I actually think Hobgoblin's a lot easier to transition to screen than Green Goblin, because Green Goblin's got that stupid stalk. Hobgoblin's got like a cloak and stuff. Like I feel like that works better on screen. So anyways, so we have Hobgoblin, and Hobgoblin's whole motivation is kind of what Hobgoblin wanted to do, and also what Green Goblin originally wanted to do in the comics. He just wants to run the mob. He wants to be king.
Yeah.
So, the whole thing with Hobgoblin is, throughout the film, he'll essentially be trying to take over the mob, and all of the mob figures will be,
he's kind of jokering his way through.
Yeah, kind of like the Joker in Dark Knight, but with more like, he does care about money. He just wants to be the head of...
He wants to be the best gangster.
And all the gangsters will be
If you can get him in a suit with the mask still,
oh,
the best movie
an
ever.
orange suit
Yeah.
with like a blue tie.
Of course.
But all the mobsters will be actual like Spider-Man mobsters.
Yeah, like Hammerhead.
Like Hammerhead.
Yeah.
And none of it like because there's going to be a lot of villains in this movie, but none of them are the villain. The villain is
They're
Hobgoblin.
just present.
So I wanna cast all the villains as like bit or like character actors, like people that are gonna do a lot with a little bit. So the mobsters are all gonna be played by like Hollywood heavies, like Hammerhead would be like Clancy Brown.
Awesome.
Tombstone would be like Ving Rhames. Although that might be white-facing Ving Rhames, and that might be weird. But Ving Rhames is a big Hollywood heavy guy.
You just have to check off the
and
you can have a hat.
act.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. While Hobgoblin, I'm kind of gonna pitch two halves of this movie. I'll pitch all the Spider-Man stuff,
I
and
broke
then
mine down into three kind of arcs throughout. Don't worry.
okay,
Oh,
all right.
it's
So
crazy.
it's gonna be like all the Spider-Man bad guy stuff, and then I'm gonna what the Peter Parker stuff is. So Hobgoblin's kind of pulling jobs and like working his way through the mob kind of a thing, and none of the mob guys really like him. And Spider-Man keeps stopping him. So he goes to prison and lets out 5 other villains that just happen to be the 5 villains we've had previously.
Yeah.
Of Electro, Lizard, Sandman, Dr. Octopus, and Venom. And they'd all and they're all just gonna be like kind of like character actors, like would do a lot with the role. Because none of them are like that. That was the problem with Spider-Man 3 is that like he tried to make 3 different characters the main villain.
Yeah.
They're all gonna be fun and have personalities, but they're not gonna be the center focus.
Yeah.
But it's
still a Hobgoblin.
Yeah, but it's still a Sinister Six because. When I realized, I was like, oh, this would technically be the 6th Spider-Man movie, so do the Sinister Six, so Spider-Man 6.
Definitely have to ignore Doc Ock sinking into the ocean. And...
Well, I mean, Doc Ock's doing something in Amazing Spider-Man 2. We got his arms.
He's gonna be there. He's just currently not an octopus.
Well, I'll just do Space Punisher, where he's actually an octopus man. But so Spider-Man like stops messing with him. He just lets off all these villains.
Yeah.
And like he kind of becomes like Kingpin and like the head of the mob, while Spider-Man's dealing with these other 5 villains who are just doing whatever they want. Yeah. And so it'll kind of play out like the first Spider-Man annual, which is where the Sinister Six comes from.
Yeah. Where
he just kind of like goes through their levels like Mega Man style, where like he fights Sandman, then he fights Electro, then he fights, but hopefully in like a really fun kind of a way that, and like I want each.
You've already beaten these guys, you can just make it whatever.
But I kind of want to do a Mega Man thing where like Sandman's at a beach or like somewhere that is like to their advantage.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't go to Waterland.
Electro's somewhere that's like all metal, like at a theme park. That'd be cool.
Oh man,
Electro at a theme park. And so he'd fight his way through all of them, and then we'd get to the Hobgoblin, and like we'd finally have a showdown with the Hobgoblin, but we don't know who the Hobgoblin is because he's all in shadow, and like the final fight would end with the I can't remember the issue number. The last issue that Roger Stern wrote. Roger Stern's the guy who created Hobgoblin. The last issue he wrote was one of those like "We're Gonna Lie to You" covers that comic books sometimes do, where it was like Hobgoblin mask, and the cover is Spider-Man's hand coming up out of the water holding Hobgoblin's mask. Yeah. That would be like the end of the fight. Like Hobgoblin gets away, we still don't know who he is. Okay. Like that's something that gets picked up on sequels. All right, so that's kind of all the superhero stuff. On the other side, we have Peter Parker, who is really, really struggling in school because he's dealing with the emotional fallout of the death of his girlfriend. He's also trying to be Spider-Man, which he doesn't even really want to do. Like, he's just doing because it's the right thing.
Responsibility at this point.
Yeah. And he kind of bring back that not being liked thing.
Yeah.
But more like the Ditko era stuff, where it's nobody's picking on him because he's a nerd.
Yeah.
Because it's because he's kind
really
of a jerk to everybody, and like he cuts off.
Standoff.
Yeah, and like it's like, hey man, do you want to come to our party? And he's like, no. And he's saying no because he has to go do Spider-Man stuff.
Yeah.
And then on top of that,
he's just gotten tired of excuses at this point, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Like everybody's just kind of fed up with him. Nobody really likes him.
The only person who did put up with him is dead. Just has been dead.
And then on top of all that, because it's 2016, he can't actually afford to go to college. So he's working at the Daily Bugle. As a like the Ultimate Spider-Man thing, where like he's a web designer, so he's kind of on call at all hours. So kind of an added layer is he can be out fighting Dr. Octopus and then get a phone call like, Parker, we need you here right now because all of the systems crashed. And if you don't come, you're fired. So he just has a super lot going on, and like he's kind of gonna break like for most of the movie, like just bags under his eyes, just like bloodshot, just like kind of sleepwalking through life.
Now it doesn't help that he's running a gauntlet.
Yeah, and now he's running through all of the villains he's faced and defeated before. And there's another guy at the Bugle that's also kind of a webmaster that doesn't like Peter, and that's Ned Leeds. And Ned Leeds might be the Hobgoblin. Like, there will be evidence set up that he might be the Hobgoblin, which all makes sense with the convoluted history of Hobgoblin. Ned Leeds was who was originally revealed as the Hobgoblin, but then revealed to have not been the Hobgoblin. So Ned Leeds might be the Hobgoblin. Then, and I want to do, with the Hobgoblin, I want to do the Universal Monster thing. Like, when it does the credits, it's like Hobgoblin, question mark, question mark, question mark. So, we have Ned Leeds, and then the Bugle is involved in a story on a scandal of this fashion industry guy who's Roderick Kingsley, who's the actual Hobgoblin in the comics, but also might be the Hobgoblin.
Yeah.
And of course Harry's going to be there too, and Harry also might be the Hobgoblin because he obviously hates Spider-Man because he killed his dad. So, like I really want to kind of play it as almost like a noir mystery between like these three characters. They all might be the Hobgoblin.
Yeah, of course.
And then not tell anyone. Like you get to the end and you still don't know. It could be any of them. And I like I really like how Spectacular Spider-Man did that thing where it's like, well, everyone knows who the Green Goblin is, so like we can't do that mystery again. So I want to pick the three people that are most likely. Like if somebody Googles Hobgoblin, it's going to be like, okay, well, Roderick Kingsley is actually the Hobgoblin, but for about 10 years, everyone thought the Hobgoblin was Ned Leeds, and in the Ultimate Universe, it is it is Harry. So like they're all really possible candidates that could be, and throughout all this, he meets Mary Jane, who is the comic book like kind of party girl, and doesn't like kind of that like freewheeling, like doesn't care about things. Like she's kind of a stupid kid.
Yeah.
But she's the only one who's not being a jerk to Peter. Like kind of sees everything Peter's going through and is just kind of like, well, it sucks you're not coming to the party.
Is
like
the only one who goes, yeah, his girlfriend just died.
Yeah.
He can be mean to us. He can be a jerk.
And he has a job, and
Aunt May needs help with rent. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like she's kind of the only person, like the most like kind of free spirited of all these people is the one that's like,
give him
maybe
some space.
Yeah. And so it would all kind of come together like right before the Hobgoblin fight of like. There's this great scene when Gwen Stacy dies in the comics, where Mary Jane comes to Peter and just kind of consoles him, and I kind of want that scene. I want the scene where, at the end of the movie, where Peter just kind of like lets go. Like I know
he just finally deals with
I know, like it's a joke, especially in the Spider-Man movies. Like Peter cries at the drop of a hat. I don't want him crying at all in this movie until this point.
Yeah.
At this point, like I want like a real like breakdown where he's like, you have no idea what my life is. and I don't want them to get together. At least not yet. Like maybe in
Yeah.
the sequels. But like right now, she's just the friend that Peter
Yeah, of
needs,
course.
and kind of gives him the strength to go out, one more time and fight the big bad of the whole movie that everything's been building up to.
Yeah.
And in being a crime movie, it doesn't need to be the city is being destroyed.
Yeah.
It's a much smaller scale, but also kind of big scale because it's like, a bunch of villains.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would do if Marvel was like, hey man, you want to make a Spider-Man movie? So did you, because you asked me when you first started thinking about it, oh, and Edgar Wright would direct it.
Oh.
Because he got kicked off Ant-Man.
Who would your Parker be?
I have no idea.
Oh.
Like everyone else, I was like, I had like ideas for like I would do because I did kind of come up with a cast, and it's mostly just Coen Brothers actors. I would do Steve Buscemi as the Lizard.
Awesome.
I would do John Goodman as Dr. Octopus.
Good.
I would do Venom's a big one that I don't know because I don't know what specifically I would do with Venom. It was just, well, Venom's the other villain that's been in the previous movies, so I'll do Venom.
Just make his Mega Man level the zoo.
Yeah.
Just keep going to bigger things.
Just eats animals.
Is that a lion? Oh, that's a lion. And then he...
So Venom, I'm not really sure who I'd cast. Batista, because he's
Batista.
every muscular guy. It'd just be Batista.
Who would you cast?
Or The Rock.
As Shocker Batista.
Batista would be a great Shocker.
Especially if he let him be lame.
Yeah, the superior foes of Spider-Man. It's a stupid name for a dog.
Taking this thing.
Who are the other two? Sandman and okay. So Sandman would be Adrian Brody.
That'd be a good one.
Because Adrian Brody's just a good actor. Like he
Great.
would like you could write Sandman could be a nothing character because Sandman's kind of a nothing character. But Adrian Brody would just take it and do something with it, which is really kind of what I cast everybody as. Is just like, oh well, they're all actors that just take a role and do something with it. Like they might only kind of like what's his name in Amazing Spider-Man 2 is the Rhino. Like he has like 4 minutes in that movie, but he's great. He's so much fun.
He's having a lot of fun.
He's having so much fun. And I would just like this movie would just kind of be like the Rhino scene for an entire movie, where like you just get like kind of fun character actors. Ned Leeds would be I can't think of his name. The guy from Fanboys, the ones who's dying of cancer.
Yeah.
He would be Ned Leeds.
I think that's how we remember that portion.
He's kind of the like kind of dark Peter Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Roderick Kingsley would be Matt McConaughey because there were rumors that he was going to be Green Goblin, and I was like, oh well, he'd be a great Hobgoblin. And I'm not sure. Like Harry and Peter, I have no idea. Like when Marvel announced the reboot of Spider-Man, I was like, I don't even have a cast pick.
Yeah.
Maybe Donald Glover. If I'm doing it in college and not doing it as a because it sounds like the Marvel movie is going to be like first year of high school. If I'm doing it in college, maybe Donald Glover. He might be able to pull that off. But I don't really have anybody for Peter. And then I would get maybe Edgar Wright. It would have to be someone that can both do action and like emotional character drama stuff. Edgar Wright's kind of the first guy that comes to my mind who hasn't already done a superhero movie.
Yeah.
He almost did. He almost did Ant-Man.
Almost got it.
So yeah, that's what mine would be. But you were asking about Civil War. Is yours in a vacuum, or is it as if Civil War is happening?
Yeah, that's actually. I asked you because I had a good idea for it, kind of what I would do if I had to pitch the Spider-Man movie that immediately followed Civil War. And after a little bit, I just kind of decided to stick with that idea. My pitch is post Civil War with a few assumptions.
So this is your Marvel Spider-Man.
If I was in charge of that next step.
So it's Asa Butterfield as Spider-Man.
Yeah, whatever that kid.
I think it's Asa Butterfield. I hope I didn't mess that name up. I don't know him from anything except he was Ender.
Was Ender?
Yeah.
Oh my god. But yeah, so mine is post Civil War. I have a little list of assumptions here I had to keep in mind the whole time. Uncle Ben is dead. He starts dead. I didn't, because they weren't gonna skip it, so I was like, I'll skip it.
Yeah, well, I also skipped that. I was like, well, these
Yeah.
other movies kind of already happened. We've already done that
I'm
much stuff.
assuming Pro Registration wins because they're gonna, right? Like they should.
That's what happened in the comics.
Yeah, they should. So I'm assuming they win. I'm assuming Shield is going to be all over the place again. Shield's kind of
Probably,
up and
yeah.
up, especially involved in superhero affairs. So there is going to be a lot of Shield in this.
Hopefully not like.
And outside of other superheroes, like when he fought Cap and Falcon and all that,
Mhm.
the villains he deals with are the first villains he's dealt with.
He's dealt with.
He's dealt with a lot of crooks. He's dealt with a lot of low-level thugs. Nothing to this scale yet.
He's only fought good guys.
Yeah, he's only fought good guys, unfortunately. So I would start brief catch-up on Spider-Man's history, fighting thugs, first appearance, all told through, some Civil War nods, all told through Daily Bugle covers, kind of like
Spinning newspapers.
Yeah, like panels, like show little shots, and they hate him. Bugle, I would assume the Bugle is now entering its own, being the anti-superhero rag, like very pro-registration. Jameson.
Right.
I never liked that Super Spider-Man was hated when everybody else was fine.
Yeah.
Like that was always a big thing.
Yeah. Having it be pro registration makes a lot of sense.
He's just very like.
This is also assuming that, like in the comics, Spider-Man switched his sides at some point, so that he's anti-registration.
So we keep doing that until we get to the last one, which is our first scene, which is police have surrounded. I picture like a VA, like a veterans hospital, and they have no idea what they're doing. Like a lot of people would be like, do we go in? What do we do? It's like, I heard he has wings. And that's when the Vulture, John Malkovich is my Vulture, by the way. The only person I have cast, because the second I was like, I'm using the Vulture for the intro, I was like, him.
Well, that's who Sam Raimi's doing.
Really? I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that was
awesome.
Yeah, he was cast for Spider-Man 4 before they canceled it.
It's genius. He's a great kid. He blasts through windows with a guy in tow, carrying him. He flies away, kind of lands on a roof. It is revealed, and this is me tying up the universe in a weird way, because I realized while I was picking the Vulture, I was like, his wingsuit's the same thing as the Marvel Universe's Falcon.
Yeah.
He built it in this one.
Oh, he's the guy that built the
I
Falcons.
decided he's
That's
the
awesome.
one who built Falcon's thing, and he has it. It's a green one, and the guy is Bestman, who is his actual partner, and he hates, because I did a lot of research. But he hates him, and the argument basically is just, the suit wasn't practical, and then Falcon made it popular, and then Bestman sold it better.
Oh.
So, he's mad, he's very angry, a lot like how it is in the comics. Vulture in this is not a villain at all. He is a first-scene jabroni. He is literally just a shelf Spider-Man. Peter shows up, says some fun jokes, they get into a fight. The Vulture is just winning. He's like, I'll just try and fight him like I did Falcon. Not really working. The Vulture's trying to kill him, not fight him. And he's like, I'm not ready for this. Everybody was pulling their punches. And S.H.I.E.L.D. ultimately has to step in their way.
Ant-Man wasn't trying to murder me.
Yeah, and S.H.I.E.L.D. ultimately steps in, knocking them both to the ground, and he's like, I had him, and they're just like, listen, you're 16.
Is there,
trust, we can't just...
Is there, like, an implication of, like, trying to keep it hush-hush, that this is the guy that invented the suit that was used by the military?
Not, but S.H.I.E.L.D. might, I don't know. I just know it would leave Peter very, like, the fact that they're just like, well, yeah, of course we're monitoring you. You're a 16-year-old super. We're not just going to let you run around New York. And he's just mad about it.
Nice swing.
He's just mad about it. And that'd be just our first scene, our first big scene that sets up the picture, leading into Act 1. And I've broken mine down into, essentially each little act will have 3 plot beats I flow through. One is Peter, one is Spider-Man, one is the villain side of the story.
Okay.
Our villains, we begin starting crime scenes where a mysterious new threat is stealing high pieces of technology. Just a lot of fancy stuff.
A Mysterio-is?
No. This villain has very special ops level abilities and the ability to change his face. Oh yes.
Clayface.
No. S.H.I.E.L.D. begins investigating. They don't know what's happening. They're just trying to figure it out. And Spider-Man is like, I can help. And they're like, no, sorry. This is an investigation. We don't need you punching your way through it.
Okay, I have a question. Because you said you did a lot of research. Is it Vulture and then Chameleon? Because those are the first 2 villains?
Well, I know it's out of order because it's Chameleon Vulture.
Yeah.
But yes, I actually picked several of the original villains. There's actually a couple people in this film.
Okay.
So yeah, there's this ongoing investigation kind of in the first third of the film. Who's stealing this stuff? Why are they stealing it? What's going on? Nobody knows. Cut to Peter's life. I didn't go the route that he is like a social outcast and he's a nerd. It's not the 20s anymore.
Yeah.
Coca glasses isn't real.
Yeah, everyone's going to see the Spider-Man movie.
I decided that kind of it's similar to your pitch. He's not accepted in school because he just doesn't care. He doesn't have the motivation to do good in school because I'm a superhero. Aunt May needs work. He's juggling little side jobs, mowing lawns, running pizzas, whatever he can do at 16 to give Aunt May money.
Well, and maybe even because it happens in the Ultimate Comics, he misses like a whole week of like science class or something, and like his teacher gives him crap, and he's like, "I can teach this school. I ace every test. And what do you care if I'm
That's
here?"
kind of what I'm pitching him as. Is he's very bright, but lazy. Doc Ock says best in the movie where he's not Doc Ock.
When he's the lizard,
genius but lazy. It's great. Alfred Molina knows. So he's kind of dealing with this stuff, and there'd be a brief mention of Uncle Ben's death that Peter hasn't even dealt with. That he's just kind of like whatever. And I'm sticking with the idea that it was his fault, kind of. I'm also the scene where he catches the guy hasn't happened. He's never found that guy. It's very Joe Chill right now. Just off on his own. Kind of leads over to the Spider-Man stuff. He continues.
Does he know? He would still have to know that the guy he let go is the guy.
He knows that. Yeah, he just never hasn't caught him yet. He doesn't know his name. He knows he's out there. And I would assume even
that's great because in the comics he doesn't have a name for a long time. He's just the burglar.
The burglar. That's his name.
There's a whole story called The Return of the Burglar.
But yeah, on the Spider-Man side, he keeps trying to fight. He's fighting crime. He keeps bugging Shield like, hey, and eventually he just screw it. Cut school. He just starts skipping school. He skips a whole week, which bothers a few of his classmates. A couple notice. A young Gwen Stacy notices. That will come back. That's he also ignores the threats of Flash Thompson, who kind of messes with him a bunch. Eventually, he investigates on his own, just full week of this, finds where he thinks that it's going to happen, and he gets into a brief scuffle with the villain, revealed to be, yes, Chameleon. I can't get it past you. You love Spider-Man.
Is it like the cartoon show where like he changed his face, or is it like the guy that puts on like makeup? And...
That's important. I can't spoil that yet.
Okay.
It's all for the greater scheme.
Okay.
But Chameleon just beats Peter down, like skilled fighter. It's like him fighting Black Widow at this point. He's like, This is an actual spy. Yeah, I'm fighting somebody who I'm 16 with enhanced strength, but this guy knows how to hit me.
Right.
Like I'm not going to deal with this. And he loses Chameleon gets away, but they've identified him. They kind of start piecing together. Oh, this guy's a super spy.
But does he cry and think about quitting like in the first issue of Spider-Man?
He just gets mad because Shield again treats him like he's getting in the way.
Right.
He's like, I'm not in the way. I found him. Clearly, I'm not in the way.
You guys didn't find him.
That leads us into our second act, where the villains kind of begin. Chameleon starts dropping stuff off. We finally get to see where he's dropping this stuff off at, and there are these little warehouses run by a man named Phineas Mason, who everybody smarter than me and loves Spider-Man more than me knows is the Tinkerer. Yeah, and the Tinkerer is just putting this stuff together. I was like,
I didn't know the Tinkerer's name.
He's putting stuff together. He's putting all these individual pieces together for this large machine, and we reveal that they're working for somebody mysterious, a shadowy figure who just says, he kind of implies that they're going to be rich. This plan's going to make these two billions, and they're just like, yeah, of course. We're hype, and that just builds them up. Now we get, Peter's life is just he's angry now. He lost to a villain. Like, he's frustrated. He's like, what am I going to do? They won't let me prove myself. And it all culminates kind of in this scene where he's hanging out. I don't know where he is, but he's going to be somewhere. And Flash Thompson and a group of people are going to show up and mess with him again. And this time he just snaps and fights back and hits them. And he's Spider-Man, and all of them are critically injured. He sends all of these kids to the hospital. The police show up because it's a huge fight. And at first everybody thinks maybe Peter's in trouble because 4 kids jump on him. No, they have to send 4 kids to the hospital. And it's Captain Stacy. I want Gwen Stacy's dad to be there, and drives him to the station. Peter's just whatever. It's like, yeah, you're on. We'll pick you up when you get there. And they have a long talk about responsibility for your actions, what makes a hero at the end of the day. Just following Civil War, if I'm keeping the ending of the real hero, the real American heroes tackling Cap off Iron Man in check. that's probably still very fresh in people's minds, especially if he dies, like especially if he goes down in that movie. And like Captain Stacy would be a very big positive influence because as much as it's sad that he dies in Make Claremont, I didn't care about that character.
Right.
So in this, I like want if we do kill him and he dies, you know, in comics, if that happens in sequels, because I don't do it in this, I don't want to touch that. I want to leave a lot of doors open. You'll at least be like, that's the guy though that taught Peter. You can't just hit people. You can't just hurt people. You have to do this. And then Aunt May then immediately confronts him, being like, "You're skipping school. What's wrong with you?" Though hitting him with the big like, Uncle Ben wouldn't want this. You know, why are you doing this to yourself just because you're angry? And he finally just like he resolves himself. He's like, I'm gonna be better than this. I have to be better than this. Uncle Ben wouldn't want me to be this bad. You know, I can't be this bad. I can't be like this right now. And then you know he says that, and Aunt May would be understanding. You know, she's not gonna be like, yeah. So she just. It's like, all right, you know, you have your time, but, you know, you're going to have to get back out there. You can't just wallow in it. So then Spider-Man starts really hitting the streets. You know, busting feet all over the city, connecting clues. He tracks the chameleon down again to one of these drop houses. I actually wrote, they have an awesome fight. Because it would be awesome. And he captures the chameleon and brings him to S.H.I.E.L.D. And it's revealed he is the weird, gray-skinned, malleable one. He can shapeshift, and they're terrified. Because what if he's an alien?
Oh.
They start thinking this could be big. He's stealing things that could be weapons of mass destruction. A lot of weird things. So they're like, is there another alien invasion happening? They start interrogating this guy, who's just, master actor he is, selling it like there is this impending doom, this big deal. NYC is going to be
I can't say Skrulls for legal
for
reasons,
Skrulls.
but Skrulls.
Skrulls. So, you know, S.H.I.E.L.D. is now all over New York, being like, we need to find alien signatures, energy, anything, trying to find what this plan is. You know, meanwhile, Tinkerer is finally finished this machine, and the big man behind the scenes finally reveals himself as Alien Warlord Mysterio. Across the city, he announces it. I am an alien, and I'm going to destroy your city. And Mason's just like, I was like, all right, so how do we get money?
So is it like a mech suit?
It's, you know what? I picture it being the exact suit. Purple gloves, green dome hat, cape.
Okay.
He just declares...
But that's the machine he's been working on? Or that's
No. That's, Mysterio just reveals himself as,
okay.
I am Mysterio. I am going to level this city. No one will be left standing. And then Tinker's like, how did this make us money? Like, how? And then, you know, Mysterio would be like, I don't want your money. I just want to see what happens when the city is just thrown into chaos. I don't care. Money, who cares? Aliens, like, we've almost died twice. Nothing matters.
Only Tony Stark is worried about the aliens, but that's when everybody remembers that there's aliens.
And then, you know, Peter continues investigating. That's all I wrote. I was like, I thought there was more for that, but I realized I want to tie up. I tie up a lot of the personal stuff at the end of the second act. Finally, you know, everything kind of builds up. Spider-Man is like, I know where they're going. You know, S.H.I.E.L.D., this is where they're going. And like, are you sure? We'll send people over right away. He's like, all right, I'm going in. He goes in there, fights a bunch of toy bots. Because I was like, Tinker needs toy bots. Cool. Fights toy bots. He enters a room and finds Mason, and it's just nothing. And everything's just smoky and misty. And that's when we just hit Peter with hallucination after hallucination. He has to deal with, it's basically just like almost Batman's begins his flashbacks with the Scarecrow serum. It's just a lot of that. We finally show Uncle Ben's death, and we see the killer. We see all that. We see that it was his fault.
Who plays Uncle Ben? Who plays Uncle Ben? Right?
Harvey Keitel.
Oh, that'd be really good. I mean, I usually think of him as like kind of a scumbag.
Who's a warm person? Who's a dirty kind of grandpa that's still good inside? Yeah. Harvey Keitel. So yeah, he kind of like comes to and he's like, whoa, and Mysterio is nowhere to be found, but he goes over to Mason, and Mason mumbles stuff to a bunch of random stuff, and he doesn't understand it. So he goes up to the top, finding that while he's been out in that hour, the city has fallen into chaos. There are aliens flying through the streets, destroying people. People are panicking. People are running. The Avengers have been called. Shield is like, we don't know what to do anymore. What's happening? And Peter's just like, I don't know.
Suspiciously off screen. Look, it's the Avengers.
Well, the Avengers have been called. They are not here yet.
Oh, okay.
Because Gathering, they're coming from New York, wherever that little compound is. So Peter gets up there, and Mysterio is like, Peter thinks what he's about to fight is Thanos. Just a giant, jacked...
Oh, is it the Spider-Man 2 video game thing?
Well, Mysterio attacks him in a big veil of smoke, and I picture Mysterio just becoming like John Carpenter's The Thing. Oh. Peter hits him, and he becomes something terrifying. And Peter's like, oh my god, and he's fighting, literally, we could just do like 6, 7 giant, scary monsters that he's fighting. And it's finally, he's just like, how do I do this? I'm gonna die against this thing. I am really not cut out for this. Probably even make a line of, man, I hope the Avengers get here in 3 minutes, because I'm done if this keeps up. And then he would finally piece together, kind of like, he did say a lot of this weird stuff, and he starts like really concentrating, and through sheer force of will, Mysterio gets reverted, and it's just the dome, gloves, costume, and he's just like, he gets it finally, and he just punches Mysterio in the face, and the glass dome breaks, and it's just a dude, just a regular dude, and he's like, wow, really? He beats him, he takes him down, and realizes, oh, and then, they shut it down, and nothing, alien invasion's a hoax, just a crazy hoax by a sad, crazy man. And the Avengers would arrive just as Peter brings him down. He just goes, I don't need a babysitter. This is my city. Let me do it. Let me work this place. Even though, Daredevil, Punisher,
Jessica Jones.
I'm not allowed to mention them probably because...
Yeah, no, they haven't been mentioned.
Nobody's been mentioning them yet.
They're mentioned in the movie.
Yeah. And that would be kind of the end of that big climax, is he faces a lot of himself, faces a lot of illusions, just kind of, fights that don't maybe have weight in retrospect, but I don't care. It's personal stuff. Epilogue notes. I would say Chameleon is revealed just to be an augmentine. They're like, he's not an alien, but something's wrong.
He's like Scarlet Witch.
Yeah, kind of. He's just weird. Phineas Mason, nobody knows what happened. It's just chaos. Disappeared. Peter graduates, or passes that grade. Fine. Just fine. He also lands a sweet summer gig, turning in photos of himself as Spider-Man to the Daily Bugle. I just throw that out there and be like, whoever takes this up, there you go, he's doing that now.
But they're all photos that are like accompanied by headlines of like,
yeah, he's a
menace.
Yeah. I have an after credit scene in mind, though. As the showing kind of came up to it, I kind of like got less and less interested in the person I picked. But the idea would be Phineas Mason has become full tinkerer, and most of his only function in Marvel at this point has been being a tech runner.
Yeah, he like makes stuff
for stuff, and that's what I would do. I would just set up the next guy, and I wrote Scorpion because I want Scorpion in the movie.
Yeah.
But like, he might not be the best, but it would be set up for the next guy who needs like a suit or something.
Yeah.
Just be like, I got it for you. That's basically my pitch, start to finish.
That was really good. And I like that ours were like diametrically opposite.
Yeah, mine was a start.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so you've picked what we're gonna do next.
Yes, I have. I mean, it was a huge box office failure. Not a lot of people went to see it. This assumes the studio goes, let's give it another shot. Let's pick it up from where it left off.
So it's a sequel.
It's a sequel to the reboot of RoboCop.
Actually,
I might need some homework for this one.
I have to watch it.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
I have to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since theaters. But yeah, I want to know.
RoboCop 2.
Yeah, RoboCop Reboot 2.
Does your Spider-Man have a title?
Oh, I would assume just like Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. I didn't really have a title. It's the first one.
Okay.
If I have to.
Spider-Man the first movie?
The first movie. Next one's 2000.
Okay, so sequel to RoboCop. If anybody has any suggestions, I mean, no promises that we'll do them. We both have lots of ideas for things that we want to do or want to suggest. But if anybody has ideas for topics, for pitches, feel free to put them in the comments. But really, if you've got a better title than Remake, Reboot, Sequel, do give us that, because we need something better. All right, I think I'm going to call it there.
Signing off.